Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's once again Friday night on the bus. And of course, you know what that means? Time to get that Friday feeling. I hope you have all got that Friday feeling. I know every week it seems to be getting harder and harder, but fear not, dear viewer, because tonight I think we're going to get through this with a lot of laughs, a lot of comedy, because Celtic released their interim report today. And we've got a lot to go through. There's a lot to digest, a lot of comments on it that I've highlighted that we're going to take a closer look at. And yes, I imagine many of us, well, I suppose if you don't laugh, you'll cry when you read through some of this. But yes, let's get all the good stuff out the way first and foremost. As Jim C has said in the comment at the bottom, big Liam on tonight. Of course he is. Greg Taylor's #1 fan, the wise man of the bus, Canada's favourite Tim, Greg Taylor's favourite Tim. It is, of course, Liam Greenlaw. How you doing, Liam?
I'm doing brilliant, Phil. Really good. I've had a chance to catch up on some of the news. It's just 1:00 here, right? So, fucking hell, we got a lot to talk about today. And anyway, before we start, watched the bus last night. Did you watch Marc and Bhoys on the Thursday night show?
Yep.
It was a good show, right? But Marc, if you're watching, you're kidding yourself. You think Greg Taylor would have stopped that last goal? No chance. First 5 minutes, there was a header that where he just let the guy go, so he wouldn't have done anything different. So anyway, one judge, you're better than that.
Yeah, as I said last week, this is where we're at now. We're pining for Greg Taylor. This is it. We're pining for him now. That's our choices, Bernabei or Greg Taylor. But we'll get onto that, of course, because we will be talking about the Motherwell game. Because other than the many laughs that the interim report has provided, we've also got a game at the weekend. Yes, we are indeed playing Motherwell at Fir Park. There's a good chance, a very, very good chance that by the time we kick off that game, we're going to be 5 points behind in the league table. Oh no, it's the thought of it. How has this happened? And of course, Motherwell over the years has been a bit of a sticky wicket for us at times. It's not the best of places to go. We've had some shockers there, but hopefully we will not be seeing any of that at the weekend. But we will get on to talk about the Motherwell game in due course. But of course, before we get there, remember to do all that good stuff, folks. Helps us out. Algorithm CSC, as we said earlier on, by Tattoo Face. And Timmy Bing said, "Mon the algorithm." Yes, indeed, because you can help out the algorithm of the Boise Bus by hitting the like button or even the dislike button. That also helps as well because YouTube loves an active channel. You can get involved in our comments tonight and, of course, comments afterwards on the video, whatever you wish to say there. I know plenty of you do. Of course, you can subscribe to the Boise Bus. We're well over 4,500 now. We're heading towards 5,000 as the next landmark of subscribers. So hopefully we can hit that before the end of the season. But, of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, you can help us out towards that total. Of course, hitting the subscribe button now and hit that bell notification, and you'll be notified when the bus is on the road. And head over to, of course, piesports.com and let them know that the bus sent you on your merry way by using the code BUS1888 and get 12.5% off your tasty pastry treats. And yes, let's talk finances, Liam. Something that we all love doing. Let's talk money, finances, Celtic. Things that just don't go hand in hand at times. They don't usually correlate. But yes, as I said, the interim report came out today. It was supposed to come out a little bit earlier in the month, and it was conveniently delayed. There was rumours building up about this time last week that when this comes out, Celtic are going to be announcing quite a bit of profit, quite a lot of money in the bank. Someone was saying like 92 something million they were expecting it to be. I think in the end it was something like 67 million it worked out at or something along those lines. But either way, a shit ton of money, to put it lightly, and again provides more questions than answers, no doubt about it. So what I've done is I've obviously went through it and had a wee look at some of the highlights from it, some of the things that I want to have a wee look at. We'll take a wee closer look at, a wee deep dive. You, me, and the viewers can go through. And the very first thing, I mean, I didn't get too far down, Liam, in this, and obviously at the top they've got the key operational items. And one of the things, the wording of it instantly just had me going, I can't believe the way they've worded this, because just one word just used in a certain context just makes it have a totally different meaning. It said participation in the UEFA Champions League, securing 4 points. Now, the word securing to me makes it feel like an achievement, makes it feel like, oh, that's something to be proud of, or we did really well there. Let's keep in mind, yes, we got 4 points, but we still finished bottom of the group compared to a year ago. We were fourth last time, we were fourth this time. So what really did we secure there? Not much at all. But yeah, the very fact that that was on there as a sort of like an achievement in the last year or so off to a good start in this statement, aren't we, Liam?
I feel like I'm in a George Orwell novel. You know, this is doublespeak. This is trolling and gaslighting at the highest level. When you start changing the words to fit your narrative now to create a negative into a positive, that's top trolling. That's advertising. You know, it's like I worked in advertising for ages, and the amount of time where you have to, you know, contains less this or more of that. And I'll give you an example. Pringles, you know, the crisps you get.
Oh yeah, once you pop, the fun don't stop.
They tried to make diet Pringles at one point.
Diet Pringles?
Yeah,
okay.
right. So they wanted to have like low calorie Pringles, and to get classified as low calorie, you had to be beyond a certain percentage, and they couldn't get it down to that percentage. So they took calories and things and added it to the other one so that they could say that the other one was now diet. So they just make the existing one more unhealthy for you. That type of, I don't know, that's the sort of like conversations we're having with this board. Secured 4 points.
We secured it, mate. Yeah.
Aye, that's somebody, that's them thinking we're mugs. You know, we're not. People from all sorts of walks of life that follow Celtic here. And that's a problem when you don't have any self-awareness. You think you're the most clever guy in the room. And Peter Lawwell, I think he's got that many family and lackeys about him that he walks about thinking he's the most cleverest guy in the room. And the room that he's in, that he built, that he allows people into, he probably is. But they're all dumplings, you know?
Yeah,
so
I mean,
that was like, I thought that was double speak. I seen that right away as well. That sort of
I just use the word securing. Just to me, it's just like, I don't know if that's the word that I would use. You know, in some, like, it makes it sound like it's something that we really achieved there. Because as David Kelly says, we won one meaningful point, which was, of course, a decent performance against Atletico Madrid. But even at that point in the group, I felt the damage was already done. We were already free. That was the third game of the group. We'd already lost in Rotterdam. We'd lost at home to Lazio. So we got a decent battling point against Atletico. But yeah, the Feyenoord game is obviously the one that got us the 3 points. And it was over by that point. You know, they were already finishing third and we were already finishing bottom. So ultimately, you can dress it up however you want, that we secured 4 points and whatnot. But the end result was this. There's 4 teams in the group. And once again, for the second in a row, we finished bottom. We were 4th out of 4. So to me, is it really much to be bragging about? But again, I'm not surprised with the way these statements are usually put out and how it's like front loaded with, oh, look at this achievement, everybody, you know, just to butter you up essentially. So obviously they've mentioned that. They've also mentioned as well in their key operational items at commencement of the major development at Barrowfield's training facility, which of course, Liam's favourite person, other than Greg Taylor, his other favourite person, Jerry McCulloch, was fronting up a video this week on Celtic TV ahead of these coming out. And this again was the cynical minds out there were saying, what are the odds that Celtic will do something in the run-up to these figures getting announced to remind or to tell us about this training facility that's getting built? And lo and behold, there it was on Celtic TV. You know, oh, look at this world-class facility that we're building and whatnot. So that was another thing to sort of prepare you for, this is the reason why we haven't spent money and whatnot. But again, when you look at the profits, it's like, we're not asking for Celtic to spend 60 or 70 million. It just needs to be smarter investment. You know, there's players surely out there. And all of world football, you're trying to tell me you couldn't find players that were better than some of the ones that we've already got in certain positions. Again, we'll get into that. They also got the key financial items. There's a lot of numbers in that one, a lot of jargon. I'm not going to go through that one by one. But anyway, in terms of the actual chairman's statement, and notice the wording, Liam, chairman's statement, not non-executive chairman's statement. It was the chairman's statement. It was signed off at the bottom, Peter Lawwell, chairman, 24th of February, 2024. Because again, when he came back onto the scene, he was non-executive chairman. There was many out there saying, he won't have that much power, that much. He's a non-executive. But as it's been pointed out many times, Russell said it, and it's also been, we've echoed it many times, he was the only person on the board with the word chairman in his title, non-executive or not. And somewhere along the line, Liam, very subtly, it became just chairman now. It wasn't announced at any point that he's chairman. It just very subtly changed. One of these, while you're looking away, quick, about, change it to just chairman. And again, Liam, are we surprised by that one?
Yeah, because it's we're on the stock exchange. I think announcements like that, I think you have to declare. I think that's a legal thing that you have to put out there, that if you change a significant management figure, you would have to that. So I don't know where they put that one through or how they snuck it through, or maybe that's the delay. Is like, we're just waiting on the party to get covered. That this is another thing that we're moving forward with. That Peter Lawwell is like here for good. I mean, fuck, he's a longer reign than Putin.
That's a fair point. Aye. Has actually 2003. He's been around at the club. Yeah.
Aye.
And debatable if he disappeared for that year. That is debatable as well. Did he actually disappear? Was he in the background pulling the strings?
Well, he certainly had voices, and he certainly had proxies within the boardroom. The fact that he's back so quickly shows you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing you can really add that's been said here. We all know that he's an absolute cancer, and yeah. I'm just no surprised. I wish I could fake shock and say and out that, but we've all sort of talked about that. He is the chairman. We've known that since he came back, and just the way he carries himself, and the fact that he's just surrounded himself with all his people, not just people, fucking offspring, and
Aye, well, nepotism in that boardroom. But I'll go through some of the quotes in here. I'll try and go through them as quickly as I can. But obviously, there's quite a few words here, and if you haven't read it yet, obviously you can read it on the website in full. But they have mentioned here from a funding perspective, the cash and cash equivalents balance reduced from 72.3 to 67.3 million. So that's the number that I've been seeing getting reported on the news tonight. But Celtic have announced money of 67.3 million. In the bank. They said a significant proportion of this cash is committed to the creation of the new training centre at Barrowfield, which, of course, many of us just learned about only recently. But yeah, apparently a whole bunch of that. But I say, do we need to spend all that money on players? I don't think so. I think just a bit of smarter investment here and there wouldn't have went amiss. But anyway, they mentioned that. And they've also, in the same paragraph, they said... the board shares the frustrations of the supporters regarding the less than anticipated activity in the recent transfer window. That's interesting. We've heard that one before. January's a hard window, apparently. One man once said many, many years ago, Mr. Lawwell. They've also highlighted, again, they wanted to make sure that they got this in, Liam, as a sort of highlight that look at this great job that we've done. We've committed 23.9 million in player investment. Within this, we've also renewed and extended the contracts of Cameron Carter-Vickers, Liel Abada, who, of course, well, we know what's going on there. I don't know if that could have been a wasted one by the end of it, by the looks of it. Matt O'Reilly, Anthony Ralston is thrown in there as well. That's a significant one we got renewed. And, of course, Rio Hatate. I'm pretty sure as well that Kyogo and Daisen Maeda signed contract extensions back in the summer, or they just including ones that have been during the season. So it's just a case of just ones in the last few months. But anyway, I know in the summer they did sign new extensions. They said the board's commitment is to strengthen and improve the playing squad in every transfer window. Okay, well, that's not obviously came to fruition. And then they've added here, and although the resources were available, we were unable to further add to the squad due to the unavailability of identified targets. So, let's get on to that line, Liam. That line in particular, when it came to certain targets and certain positions, these are things that did not creep up on this Celtic board or the coaching staff just suddenly out of nowhere. There were positions, certain areas of the park that we knew back in the summer we had to, strengthen. They're the January window. I know they've pushed the line out there, but January being hard and whatnot, is what it is. But again, you're telling me that they didn't have enough. How big are these shortlists that they draw up? Is it literally, when they say a shortlist, is it how short are we talking here? Because it's like, it just feels to me like they maybe had like one, maybe two targets at the most for each position. And if that one's not available, okay, the alternative's not available. Oh, well, I don't know what to do next. It's like, surely to God. And again, I would say, you look at the options out there in the world of professional football, Liam, and again, you're telling me you couldn't get something better. They knew about the situation with the players going to the Asian Cup. That was a thing that was known months ago. In fact, more than a year ago, when Ange was signing them all, there was always a risk that, well, when the Asia Cup rolls around at the start of 2024, and if these players are still here, it's a good chance they're going to go. But again, we're hearing stories, Liam, about Adam Ida only found out on the Monday. The transfer window closed on the Thursday night in January. at the end of January, and he only found out on the Monday morning that Celtic were interested. And again, it just, with them talking about, the unavailability of identified targets, and it's like, how many realistically did you have identified? So again, it just creates more questions than answers for me, reading stuff like that, Liam.
Oh, I mean, the guy identifying the targets was identifying golf club manufacturers and golf club memberships not that long ago. So yeah. who knows what the process is? Whatever it is, when you say a short list, you're right, it is a short list. The only one I remember that had any traction to it that we were talking about was the boy for Liverpool that ended up going back to Dundee.
Oh, and Beck, yep.
That was the only one that really, really came out. I think we had some interest in the boy that was playing over in Denmark, Norway.
Was this Vestgarden?
But other than that, I didn't hear anything. And we don't even know what the process is. At least with Lenny, we knew it was like Dadu, so you'd be in for a couple of, Africans or something that come through Israel, or, people come.
Well, I don't know if we should shop in that market anymore, given what's been happening recently, and I would be quite surprised. Although, would it not be the most Celtic thing in the world that after when Leila Bada inevitably leaves, which is it seems to be imminent now, that we would go back to Dudu the hand, pick up the phone again, or any clients you can recommend to us. Dudu, it would be the most Celtic thing possible, wouldn't it? You wouldn't be surprised at this stage if they did.
The other thing, we'd absolutely no links to Manchester City or any of their affiliates at the time.
Yeah.
We usually are, with the Lawwells, they love a good Manchester City target. And they've worked out well for us, ex-City players have done okay for us, and it's worse than that. But no, you wonder what the process is. Did you just phone up a couple of the agents and the clubs and all that? And how much did they push? How much did they press? We always talking about, did they actually go out and ask the question? Have you asked the question, is he available? How much is he? And it just seems to be a lot of this just fucking pussying about to come to nothing. And this is all speculation because we don't know. Because no one from that department has ever come out on an interview with a Jenny Bullock, and been asked hard questions of like, okay, you say in your interim reports that you tried your very hardest. Could you sort of outline the process to show us how you tried, just so that we can get a better grasp? And, I might create some empathy and understanding for the support. And that could be a thing. Or it's like, or did you just sit in your arse all day and you list the names? They say, I phoned them. They weren't in. Well, did you phone back? They're not getting back to me. Or Mark or whoever it is at this stage. It's like, all right, well, you done your aye, good, okay, well, still secured the 4 points in the Champions League, so
secured them, mate, secured
4 participation trophy, innit?
I know. Well, to further boil the blood, they've added, after talking about their disappointment about unavailability of identified targets, they then said this was disappointing to us all, or was it really though? And never the intention. Oh, okay. Well, they're claiming it was never the intention. I'd like to think there's truth there, but again, it's like, how hard did you really try? Then it says the January transfer window is notoriously difficult. Heard that one before. As clubs are very reluctant to let their best players go at such a crucial time of the season, just as we are. So that's them just reminding you that we knocked back bids for Matt Riley. Indeed, we resisted strong interest in our players from other clubs. And then they say it is notable that transfer activity in England was the lowest it has been for over 10 years, excluding the impact of COVID-19. A number of reasons have been cited for this, including the absence of suitable players and new UEFA regulations which impose spending caps. So that's them now alluding to the financial fair play thing. Again, I go back to what I'm saying about we don't need to spend stupid amounts of cash. It's just smarter investment. Obviously, it'd be amazing if Celtic could go and spend like 20-something million on a player, but we're not expecting that. Again, go back 2 years or a year ago, Cameron Carter-Vickers was 6 million to get him, 6 million for Jota. It's like, so the players are there. Like, the players of that level are there, and these are decent enough prices for us to pay without breaking the bank, without eating too much into our budget. But instead, it seems like now we're in this mold of we need to spend just 2 to 3 million on players and whatnot, and the certain markets they come from. And I said last week, there was this weird tweet out there a few weeks back about this is the criteria that the recruitment team have to work under, which again, I was like, oh, surely this isn't true. But then when you look at the players that we have signed, you're like, by the way, they might be right. But again, it's like the players are still out there. So again, a lot of the sort of diatribe that we've heard before, as I said many, many moons ago, we can remember Peter Lawwell. I think it was after the infamous Willow flood transfer window, where he said that, we tried to get players in, but clubs weren't willing to sell. It's a very difficult window. And then a year later, we had Tony Mowbray in charge in the January window. I think we ended up doing something like 9 players out, 8 players in, or something like that in that January window. So you go from 1 year where it's like, oh, it's so hard to do business in January. It's dead hard to get players in. Then a year later, you literally have a revolving door. And yeah, it's like, well, what's it? What is it? What is the answer? You can't have it both ways here, Celtic. So yeah, that was the line on that one. But again, more of the same, Liam. We've heard it all before.
Had it all before. I mean, that should be our new Smell Love t-shirt, notoriously difficult transfer window. Sell that club shop, because, putting new names in the back of the jersey is just going to have, notorious transfer window. There was other markets still open. I looked, just because I live over here, I looked at the MLS. So the MLS is still open.
Nice.
About the MLS, we have an MLS non-standout. It's a first choice right back for us. I looked and I saw how many people were available for the left back position, and there was quite a few. The guy that I really like, Kamal Miller, he ended up going to the team in the MLS, and he's a big bruising left back that can get up and down the park, plays for Canada. Thought he's a lot better player than Alistair Johnson. But there was also guys as well that played, American internationalists. And those guys that I think end up going over to Germany, and you also had the creative playmakers like Ryan Gold. It didn't take much research for even a guy like me, that doesn't really watch MLS, to go through it, look at a couple of highlights. You Google who's the best left backs in the MLS, and 5 names come up, and you can go and have a look at them. That's not notoriously difficult to deal with. You're not looking at really huge wage packages. You're not looking at massive transfer fees. So, I mean, that's totally available. You just have to be creative with it. The fact that we've let the left back position go to such an extent where, we've only got Bernabei. And we knew that at the very beginning of the window that, okay, we'll have to take Bernabei. Unless you thought by them naming Taylor's only credible left back that we had in the Champions League, that Brendan had an alternative left back that was playing in another position, we all assumed would be a Liam Scales. But no, hanging on to Liam Scales as a bona fide, centre back. And even that right now is not working out well. It's like the time to do that was at the very beginning and just make a statement. Instead, they brought on Bernabei. I don't think, I think I don't think he's that much worse than Taylor. The two of them are pretty well par with each other. One's just got a better platform for expressing his views and self-identifies as a team leader. So I don't know if you've seen that through the week, where it was like Taylor was talking about how him, McGregor and Joe, being team leaders. It's like,
all right, okay.
Team leader?
Yeah.
Christ, that's all. But,
your favourite your favourite type of content, Liam, Greg Taylor content.
But notorious difficult window. Fuck, I mean, just go to any episode of the Bhoys from the beginning to the first one we've done. If we've been telling you that every transfer window is notorious when you don't know what you're doing. Every opportunity goes sideways if you don't have the intent to go in and actually create something out of it. And that's the thing. We've got a board that are just, their intent is just to ride it along, and hopefully the fans will forget. Hopefully we'll have luck, and we'll all go back to happy clapping. And hey, we're doing a great job. Look at that bank balance. Sexy.
Big balance CSC, mate. Well,
Sexy.
further down the statement, they talk about what's happened on the park rather than just talking about the balance sheets. They did talk about what's happened on the park so far this season. So they said, although disappointed at our League Cup exit to Kilmarnock, yes, we're all disappointed at that one. We looked forward to our Champions League draw against Feyenoord, Athletic Madrid and Lazio. Yes, we all looked forward to that as well. We achieved 4 points in the group stages. The rough achievements, the word I would use, whilst representing an improvement over last season's 2 points. Well, yes, it was an improvement there. We finished fourth in the group stage. Well, I'm glad they acknowledged that part at least. I'm glad they at least acknowledged that we still finished fourth. We took consolation from a number of good performances, which will serve our squad well, but our objective is to keep improving and competing in Europe. A number of good performances. So that suggests plural. That suggests multiple good performances. I'm assuming they're going to include the Feyenoord game and the last one in that one as well. As I say, dead rubber at that point, and it is what it is. Atletico Madrid game at home, yes, we did go toe-to-toe with them. We gave them a bit of a scare. And yeah, the Lazio game, we did well for most of the parts, but yeah, just stupidly shot ourselves in the foot. Just did one of the most Celtic things we could possibly do in Europe. But yeah, they're dressing it up as, we'll learn from this, which is something we've heard a lot. Let's see if we're even in the Champions League next season to learn from it. That'll be interesting. But yeah, that's what they're talking about in terms of that. And then, of course, they sign it off with 12 matches remaining in the league and having reached the quarterfinals of the Scottish Cup, there remains a long way to go and all to play for. We will all unite behind the team and for these purposes. Signed, Peter Lawwell, Chairman, 23rd of February 2024. Yes, well, we do all need to get behind them. But yes, I see you can read the full thing on the website if you wish, but that's just some of the interesting tidbits in there that I thought I would highlight because, yeah, I say a lot of it's just dressing things up because, yeah, they can read the room that the fan frustration is pretty high right now. And again, to say, I don't think we needed to spend every single penny that's in the bank. I don't think any Celtic fan in their right mind is asking for that. It just is the investment has just been so bad over the last few years. It just fell off a cliff somewhere. You go back, a good few years to maybe when Lennon was manager first time around, and some of the players that we were finding in this price bracket that we talk about, this under 2 million price bracket, it's like, where are those type of players now? They must be out there. But our scouting has just went down the toilet, it seems. And yeah, when you highlight things like you've got a guy in the scouting department who was managing a golf shop, essentially, it's like, well, this is kind of what you get for that and type of employing that type. So, but again, it's sitting in Strachan. So, Jono said to me on Monday night, I don't know if you saw that show, Liam, we were talking about could another figurehead in the Celtic, in the backroom staff help at this point? Somebody who can really galvanise them, like somebody that's connected to the club. And my retort to that was, knowing Celtic, if they did that sort of thing, the person getting appointed will have the second name Strachan. Because they're just multiplying. They just seem to come out of nowhere. Gordon Strachan will come back as an advisor role or something like that. Again, it's like, so I wouldn't trust them with stuff like that. But yeah, it's just reading that today, going over it. A lot of things, nothing surprised me with it at all. And yeah, we now are where we are. We're now with this squad to the end of the season. At the end of it, did say there, Liam, there is still 12 games to go. We are still in the Scottish Cup. And as I said last week, if we win all our games, this sounds so simple on paper. If we win all our games, Liam, we win the league. And that was last week when I said we had 13 games left. Well, at the very first hurdle of those 13 games, we stumbled. We can't afford many more stumbles now, Liam, but it's now getting to the point where it's like hanging by a thread.
So last week we were accused of being negative a wee bit, Not everybody, just somebody mentioned we were getting on negative and that. And I thought, okay, so we'll turn it around and we'll look at a positive spin on it, right? And I was thinking, okay, best way for us to get out of this, best way to show our intent that we were going to win these 13 games was going to be a serious performance for our captain. Doesn't have to break, burst the net and this and that, but like driving players on, creating the pace and the momentum that we need to play a Celtic, to get that ball moving forward all the time, find Kyogo, get the players committed so that we're not missing guys at corner kicks and dead ball situations. And none of that happened. We talked about this was an opportunity for Callum McGregor to stand up and really show and be counted. That was the game. And my God, did he disappoint. Terrible, huh? I thought, I thought he was, Mark and Bhoys pointed at some of the stuff last night about, he was like 10 yards behind a lot of the times. He was talking about plays. You couldn't even see him in the screen. Where was he?
Mm.
And that, I think that's because to become our biggest point. And right now, moving forward, okay, can Callum McGregor do this? Because I don't think he can now. I don't think he has that drive. And maybe he doesn't even have that respect for the players now. Something's wrong. His game is falling off a cliff. Maybe he needs to put the mask back on. Something.
He was good when he had that mask on. To be fair, he played really well.
That's what needs to happen in these next games against Motherwell and in this future 12 games that we have. Who's going to lead? Because we know who the leaders are. Joe Hart. Fuck, thank God we've got Joe Hart.
I know.
Guy. Imagine if we were going into the last 12 games with tossing between Bain and Siegrist to see who can claim a position. Just like some of the other ones where here's the trophy. Just go and grab it. Go grab the ring. That's it. It's yours. You can become a star for Celtic. Just get out there, play out your skin and show what it means. Show everything you can. But no, nobody's wanting it. Everybody's pushing it away, including our captain now. So, and noticed a big difference. I listened to the press conference with Brendan today, and then I listened to the one with Joe Hart. And what a difference in the men. And then they're tone. One's nearly 37, the other one's 47 or something. But Joe Hart seems like a player that's very self-aware, a professional, a person that carries himself with esteem, and not someone that's trying to over-articulate or con the viewer, with wee snide or tricky remarks and things like that. And then you listen to Brendan, and it was just utter bullshit. It was bullshit. It's like... There's a lot of good moments. It's I used to laugh at the David Brent comparisons, but
it's definitely. He says something a day about we've got 8 wins and 2 draws, which it is true. But have you watching the foot, Brendan? Are you watching what's going on in front of your eyes? You're the manager. You're standing on the sideline, so you can see what we're all seeing as well. You can't. Yeah, the results are there. If it's 8 wins and 2 draws in the last 10 games, but it's like it's been so slow and turgid, and we just seem to be sleepwalking our way into trouble here. And we need to find a spark to really pick up the tempo and start putting teams away, because as we learned last week, if Celtic don't get a 2-goal lead on teams, it becomes a real big problem for us. We've seen it since we came back for the January break. Hibs gave us an absolute rattle in the Easter Road, and we got out of there the skin of our teeth for that late penalty. Aberdeen, obviously, second half, they were a completely different team against us. Even before Christmas, you look at the games against Kilmarnock at Rugby Park, we were 1-0 up at half-time, and I felt we were pretty comfortable. And then, Kelly just came out second half and just stood up to us, and it had us absolutely spooked. And then last week, it was a bizarre feeling in the stadium, because from the 65th minute onwards, after the substitutions, we just fell off a cliff. We really, really did. And it was like you felt it coming. We were making Kilmarnock look good. And when they scored that goal, in the last, all you could hear around the stadium was just the clattering of the seats, the plastic seats going up and people leaving as soon as it went in. And obviously they ended up playing 9 minutes stoppage time in the end. But there was no chance that was going to. It was just a dismal performance. So when it comes to all these games going forward now, we have to start quick. We have to get a couple of goals ahead quickly as well. And then maybe we can start to, relax a wee bit. But if we are at 0-0 at half-time or 1-0, there's no safety going into the second half, it seems. So it's got to change. It's got to change quick. So the fact that Brendan can sit there and say, we're playing really well, 8 wins and 2 draws. On paper, the results do look really good. But when you actually peel back the layers and look at the finer details of those performances, we cannot get away with that from now to the end of the season. We are not going to maintain that type of form. Scraping by with wins here and there, it's not going to happen. So he needs to change it really, really quickly. Also, you brought up Joe Hart there. Obviously, we'll touch on that and give our opinions. After seeing that interview with him and whatnot, because I feel really bad, because for the start of the season, I've kept talking about that was one of the positions that I felt was a priority. And to be fair, I still feel going along in the season, we were justified in saying that Joe Hart should have been, we should have looked to bring a goalkeeper in somewhere along the line. Obviously, the club didn't do that. But yeah, I feel, and obviously since the January break, since we've came back, I said it last week, how much he deserves his props, because he's played bloody well. He's kept us in games as well at the same time. And yeah, I felt really sad watching it, oh man, the realization hit me. But ultimately, we do need to get fresh blood in goal, a younger, obviously a decent goalkeeper. It's going to force the club's hand. Well, I say that it's set up to force their hand. Will it actually force them? Also, I know Mark said in the group chat a week or so ago that he had this vision, prediction, whatever, that we'll start next season with Scott Bain as the number one keeper. And then Joe Hart goes and announces that retirement. And then, of course, he reminded us and said, see, just remember what I said. And I really, really hope that doesn't happen. But I did see a clip today, and this is where it gets interesting. And it was Brendan again up at Lennoxtown talking to Sky Sports. And he says, we may need to look at bringing in 2 new goalkeepers. Now, first of all, he said which would insinuate that he fully expects that he will still be the manager in the summer, because I still feel that even if we do come through and win this league, win the double, say for talking sake, if we do pull this off, I still think he's going to walk away in the summer. I think he'll basically go, right, I've wrapped up with those trophies, I'm out of here, because you can see it's falling. But I would be surprised if he is still the manager. But he's obviously said that we might need to look to bring in multiple goalkeepers in the summer. But yeah, the very fact that he's at least addressed it in some way shows that, oh, well, at least they've actually taken note of it. But hey, ball's in your court now, Celtic. Go out there and find us a good goalkeeper.
Well, listen, I don't think it's entirely legal, but I like the fact that he's being creative. Playing with 2 goalkeepers might help the formation.
Maybe, aye.
To wear a beach, I don't know. But, fuck you. He's right, we do need, because I worry about when anything happens to Hart. We've got the 2 dumplings, like the one, Claude Bain's the invisible man, only shows up on Instagram and social media. And then you've got, Rodgers had a soft spot for, left out a Scottish international to play Bain. I've never seen a guy with a Bhoys hit off his face so many times. He's going like that, and it's hitting him off the face. Remember that save where it's wearing a coon?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what we'll see with Rodgers is we're not going to see any creativity. I think you'll see the substitutions of injured players coming back, and I think in his mind he'll think, well, the system's fine, everything's good. It's just we needed Cal, CCV back there, and we need Ali Johnson, and that seems to be the way, is bring back the injured players, play the same way, and then just hope for a different result. That those players are somehow going to move it forward a lot quicker than the person that you selected to put on, who either refuses to or doesn't have the ability to.
Yeah. Well, you brought up Ali Johnson there, and I see Brendan did confirm that he is available for tomorrow, as is Carter Vickers. But as we've learned with Carter Vickers this season, Liam, every time he comes back from an injury, usually another injury is not far off. And right now, I'm very 50-50 on this, because we obviously need to sort that back line. I think last week was a watershed moment for the Stephen Welsh and Liam Scales experiment, because being just serviceable isn't going to cut it. We need to be playing our best players if we can. For me, I would have him in tomorrow. I would go with it. I know the risks that are coming with it. I know that he keeps getting injured as well. But I think at this stage, I would still, if he's available and he's ready to go, I would have Carter Vickers in there tomorrow. But I'd say I do appreciate and understand the people in the chat saying no, don't risk it, because we've still got Tynecastle, a trip there coming up. We've got a trip to Ibrox coming up. I know Livingston are absolutely muck this season, but plastic pitches and Brendan Rodgers teams don't usually go hand in hand. And we've got a trip to Almondvale coming up as well. So it's oh God, what do we do here? But for me, I would get Carter Vickers in. What about yourself, Liam? Would you risk it, or would you still stick with Stevie Welsh and Scales? Because it just seems like no matter what, Nawrocki and Lagerbielke just ain't going to get a sniff.
Yeah, I mean, we're risking there, certainly, until it comes to the playing. and then it's just like fling them in as soon as they're walking again. I think we've rushed CCV back too many times this year, and Rodgers has patterns of that because it's just part of his lack of strategy or that get the players back into the team as soon as you can. Ali Johnson, you've got to be careful about that. That's 2 head knocks he's had. If that's UFC, the other sport, there's a required number of time you have to sit out for that sort of thing. So he's had 2 this year. When you're playing NHL hockey, concussions and NFL football, that's a huge thing. So it's like Ali Johnson. I think he's had a terrible year. I don't think there's a rush to get him back. That somehow you're going to be a much better option than Tony Ralston. I don't think there's that much between them. The Vickers thing. Do you start somebody the first half and bring him on the second? But then that's a different sort of pressure. Or do you take him and then bring him off after 60 minutes? But if we are 60 minutes and it's nothing each or 1-0, what you're bringing on a calamity to win again, where it's like, squeaky bum time. Not sitting there,
Yeah. Well, this comment, Liam, from your maw, not literally your maw, but his name, your maw. We should play Rocky and Scales and give CCV the last 30 minutes to shoot it up. I mean, that seems like a logical plan, but as I say, it just feels like Nawrocki and Lagerbielke are just like the invisible men. Brendan Rodgers had that really weird comment back in, I want to say about October time in a press conference where he was asked about, why did they not get much game time? And he basically alluded to, they're just not that good. It's like, yeah, but that's £7.5 million worth of centre-backs that we signed in the summer. And now you're telling me, which remember, Brendan Rodgers, claims that he signs off on all these players. It's a total contradiction. It's like, well, now you're telling us they're not good enough. It's like, what on earth is going on there? But I do like that idea. Nawrocki with Scales, I would say, I would think that seems logical, but nothing seems to be logical right now at Celtic.
No, I mean, you got one of the players that secured us 4 points in the chat, or 3 points.
Yeah. True, actually, yeah.
To secure himself a place, not even on the bench. So can't even secure himself in the squad after that. So, so as much as that's a highlight for Celtic, Lagerbielke, he must feel like, I shouldn't have fucking bothered, But, I don't know. I mean, Kobayashi, I thought Kobayashi.
Oh, I remember him, yeah.
You just don't see or hear from any of these guys anymore. And Lagerbielke and Nawrocki, they all became the same. Iwata's played in the back position. You can't tell me, looking at last week in that performance, that Scales and Walsh work. I think they both work independently of each other with somebody else in there. But just together, they looked very fucking 10-ply, looked very soft. They didn't seem to have the aggression, the hunger, but also the confidence to dominate the game and move that ball forward where it needed to go. It was like, I've noticed as well, the amount of touches they're taking on the ball.
Oh, I know.
Like fling a coat on it. It's like taking 3-4, it's like turning Queen Mary. So, but that seems to be a thing that's common. I've noticed that this year, that there seems to be a pattern of the players now to put their foot on top of the ball, drag it and move. And that's a Hollywood move. That doesn't help you now. But it looks good on the park and it looks good for the cameras and stuff when you're doing that. But it doesn't do anything to transition and change the game and get the pace going quicker. So I need to get rid of that. And I'd like to have another look at. I wish we'd have seen more Kobayashi or something in the friendlies or something, just to see, do we have a player there or no? Because I'm not sure anymore, because what I've seen them get dropped for is not 100% different than what Scales and Walsh are doing right now. So maybe they're settled better, but Roger sees them in training, so he must know best.
He must apparently. But the centre back pairing, we'll see what it brings on Sunday. But yeah, I think I said that. I might have said earlier on tomorrow, but yeah, I got mixed up because somebody said in the comments, isn't it Sunday we're playing? But yes, it is Sunday. We are playing Sunday lunchtime. I say there's a good chance, a very, very good chance that we're probably going to be 5 points behind by the time we kick off. Hopefully by full time we're not still 5 points behind. But we'll get to that very, very soon. Midfield, obviously we go in there. We talked about McGregor earlier on. You obviously had a very good rant there about McGregor so far, and he's going to play. He's a captain at the end of the day. He's going to be playing. O'Reilly, so as I've said, his performances have dropped quite a bit since January. In fact, most players' performances have dropped since January. Also, I've speculated that hopefully he's not had his head turned by the Atletico Madrid thing, but the general consensus just seems to be he's just affected by everything else that's going on around him. It's everyone else is kind of dragging him down. I said, I'd like to think he's professional enough, and that isn't the case, that he's just down tools because he's unhappy about not getting a move. Because he does seem like one of the players from day one that was buying in to whatever Brendan Rodgers was selling, he was buying it. And yeah, so he seems like he was on side with him. But yeah, Bernardo, could he come back in, or are we going to see this 4-4-2 thing that he tried before? And I say last week he started with the two up front. He went with the 4-4-2 formation, and shock horror, just like the St Mirren game, once we went back to what we were playing before, we seem to lose a bit of control in the game. The difference in St Mirren game the week before is we were already 2 ahead at that point, and that is so crucial to us. But if it's just a goal in it, see, we completely fell off a cliff last week. And in terms of the midfield, I think if that does get us, results, I think he needs to stick to this sort of 4-4-2 thing and just go for that. Because yeah, the proof is in the pudding now, Liam. Every time he reverts back to what he was playing beforehand, we seem to have a massive, massive drop off. So to me, it's a no-brainer with the midfield tomorrow. 2 in the middle and 2 out wide. So I would obviously have McGregor. I'd probably say O'Reilly, but with Bernardo, it's a bit of a toss-up between the two. And keep in mind, with one being right-footed as well, and Bernardo, O'Reilly left-footed, McGregor's left-footed, maybe a bit more balanced middle of the park. And yeah, with the wide players, and this is where the conundrum comes in, Liam, because every one of our wide players right now are absolutely terrible. They are miles off it. We're talking about the whole team having problems. I think our wide players are just... They are the biggest culprits, because every one of them just seems to be an empty jersey, no matter what combination we play, no matter what we do. And it's like, again, we could sit here, Liam, and we could suggest that maybe Celtic should try this formation, go for like a narrow, I believe the term is a 4-4-2 diamond. So you play a defensive midfielder, 2 centre mids and an attacking mid, and you rely on your fullbacks getting forward for the width. But we know that Brendan won't go that radical. He's going to have to fit Palmer, Maeda, or whatever in some way he can. But man, they've got to start delivering. Palmer against St Mirren, so he delivered a good ball for Kyogo, finished it really, really well. But yeah, last week against Kilmarnock, geez, man, he was really painfully bad. And Maeda, since he's came back from the Asian Cup, other than that tap-in against St Mirren, which he nearly missed, let's be honest, maybe that was why he was so embarrassed when he was celebrating, even a lack of celebration. He's just looked off it, massively off it, and the wingers have got to start producing, because they get a lot of the ball, as we know, Liam, as we talked about the horseshoe. Pass it around the back, pass it out wide player doesn't go out, pass it back the way, so they get a lot of touches of the ball, but we've got to start doing something with them, and it's such a conundrum right now for Celtic. I don't know what the strongest combination is right now. I really don't.
No, I think you could put our lineup in a tombola and just pick the team that way, and it wouldn't really have much of a difference. Especially the wingers. I don't know. I think we need to invert them. I think get Palmer on the right and get Maeda back to the left. I think that's the thing. I want to see a Wata in the team. I always think, dude, man, find a way to get your better players on the. He looks like one of the better players. We said he was in line when before he got injured with Atletico. He was playing really well, and that's right. Tough as well. Whereas, I don't know, it's a Rodgers training thing, right? It's like what you're seeing at the training, we're not seeing, and we're not seeing it on the park when they do get the performance. Palmer, that's what you need. You need a captain that's going to fucking just light a fire up his arse and scream at him to get back, and and just actually not to neglect any of the defensive things in the team. It looks to me like an absolute showboater. He just wants all the glory, and he's a greedy type player, and also as well, he's just there's no embarrassment to him when he skies some of these after lefts. It's that big smile and fuck, what am I like? It's like that seems to be it. There's nobody screaming at him, to get the ball. The O'Reilly thing you said is interesting, because there's a guy that's knocking on the door for Denmark right there, and a very, very committed player. In fact, he chose them, as a country. I think he could play for Ireland and England, I think, as well. But so I don't think he's put down tools in the way that it's a huff or anything like that. I think you can see he's frustrated with some of the other players, and I think that's a frustration as well too. He's not getting the ball, or he's maybe having to do, a lot of the carrying work he's not had to do before. But he's more of a finesse player, more a creative player, and we're not utilising him in that way, and so that could be that. I think it was my ball in here saying that I think it was being harsh on McGregor. Do you really think so? I mean, honestly, if you take that armband off him, it's nothing that he's shown this year that David Turnbull hasn't. He's not that much better. We need big performances out of our captain. You need drive and that energy. That's why he's a captain. That's why he's became undroppable. So you have to sort of give him criticism at that point and expect him to up his game, because that's the only leadership we have on the park right now, other than Joe Hart and Greg Taylor.
It baffles me because he was obviously here first time around when Brendan was here, and we used one of the players that came on leaps and bounds under Brendan Rodgers in the first spell. So the fact that he's sort of in this malaise right now is odd, because his best games so far in this season under Brendan have been in games where Shokora Iwata has played, or a player has played deeper than him, and he's been allowed to get a little further forward. So again, if you are a manager, an elite manager as the term gets used for Brendan Rodgers, surely you are smart enough to notice when you're looking at that on the sideline that, maybe I should play McGregor a little further forward instead of playing him so deep. Maybe, just maybe that would be a suggestion. So we shall see if Iwata is maybe coming back in. Maybe he plays that there. Because, we need something. Because when McGregor is on it, he's fantastic. No doubt about it. He's one of our best players. Justifiably so. He is the captain. But, right now this season, he just seems to be a microcosm, essentially, of just how it's going for the whole season. But we need to find something. Momentum is a word that me and Jono talked about on Monday night. It's very much the buzzword right now, because momentum is non-existent. We have lost so much of it. Did we even have it this season? You could probably count the number of good games we've had on one hand. It felt like every time we had a good performance, we followed up with something terrible. I remember we scudded Hearts 4-1 at Tynecastle. That's an incredible result, right? And then a week later, we drew 0-0 at Easter Road. I'm pretty sure when we beat Aberdeen 6-0, which many would say was probably our best domestic performance in terms of the number of goals we scored, it was. I think the next game we drew with Motherwell. I think that was the next one. And then we've had done some weird ones where we've drawn 0-0 with St Johnstone and get knocked out of the cup, but then went to Ibrox and won. So it's such a bipolar Celtic team right now, where they're just up and down all over the place. For every good result, there's a bad result just around the corner, and when we get a bad result, then a good one will come along, and oh god, so who knows what we're going to see on Sunday. But up front, obviously, with Kyogo right now, he scored last week, nice header, good ball for Anthony Ralston, and a nice header. That was probably one of the only highlights last week, to be fair. Ida, obviously, he played last week. He was quite invisible, to be honest. He wasn't really in the game. The guy seems to be good at taking a penalty, but actually imposed himself on the game for being a big guy. But did we play to the strengths? Because what do you need for a big guy in the middle? You need good crosses coming into the box. And what were we just talking about, Liam? How our wingers are just not doing what wingers should normally do. So that's going to kind of stifle him, essentially. So he is kind of an empty jersey. If he's going to play, he needs service coming in. The guy's 6'3", so you need to put a high ball into the box. You need to rely on your wingers to do it. If they're not, then what can you do? Kyogo, obviously, he got the goal last week. This is the time that we need him to kick on. I know, again, could it be down to the tactics this season with Brendan that's stifled him? Because Kyogo hasn't become a bad player overnight. He's obviously dropping a lot deeper to try and win the ball and so on, and that's obviously meaning he's not getting into areas where he was previously under Ange to get those tap-ins, or sometimes to miss them, but at least he was always there, and he never ever hides, he never shies away, even though he would miss a few clangers here and there, he'd always still be, keep him getting into the positions, and would eventually tuck one away. So, but I say with 12 games to go, Liam, it's now a case of, and again, this is where I get really, really confused with what's going on with Brendan, but it's like, this is a guy, remember, who said when he came back in the summer, oh, I mean, the time I've been watching Celtic all the time anyway. And of course, we had that incident last year at the Cup semi-final where he was in the crowd at Hampden when the rumours were beginning to circulate that Ange might be off. And again, of course, we were like, well, Brendan, if you've been watching us for the last 2 years in particular and seen how well we've done in the style of play, and again, he also said, I mean, my style to Ange's style, there's only a few wee tweaks in there. Why don't you just do that? Why don't you just say it? Because most of these players that are here now were here last season. Why don't you just say to them to just do what they were doing before? Instead, he's trying to, maybe I say, micromanage them too much, make it a bit too complicated for them. I don't know, but it just seems baffling to me again. I'm trying to get my head around it, Liam, where he can stand on the sideline and just be like happy with that. And it's like, but a year ago, most of these same players were doing this. Why don't you just ask them to do that again? Because they're capable of it. But the mystery goes on, Liam. You know, how is he going to solve this?
I mean, other than that game at Hampden, I don't think he watched any of the games. I think that's just
I think so.
bullshit.
Yeah, of course.
I'm one of yous that even though I was doing in Leicester, I was still watching the games and I'm still up to date. I was still cheering for the couch, you know, and I just need a couple of tweaks here and there. And those tweaks, whatever you've done it today, tweaks, mate. It's like, it's one of the threads you pull out a jumper because the fucking arms are coming off, you know. So it's like it's turned into a vest now, Roger. So those tweaks, small tweaks that you've wanted to make have not worked at all. And it's disintegrated to something that's it's not even enjoyable to watch. You know, I enjoy getting up at, you know, I got 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. I'll get up at 3 in the morning, walk up to the pub to watch it. And yeah, I usually enjoy all that. The last couple of times it's been, oh, Christ, you know what? Maybe I should try and see if we can find a stream or something, you know. But it's that. I can't even believe he watched any of our games last year.
No. It's just, again, another thing add to the list, Liam, of things Brendan says, you know, and it's like, because he could write a book already on some of the things, and, you know, we've seen in the past, he's got previous for this. But it's interesting you say that, because I'm in the exact same mindset as you. I think I mentioned that a few weeks ago on the show, where after the Ross County game, that turgid 1-0 where we scored after a minute and then missed 2 penalties, and it was just a dreadful, dreadful day. But obviously we got the points. Genuinely walking out the stadium, and I've been a season ticket holder since 2007, right? And obviously I'm the same as you, I look forward to the games and whatnot. See when the PA guy at the end of the game, when you leave the stadium, he thanks everyone for coming today, and he reminds you what the next fixture will be at home, and he was like, our next game will be, Kilmarnock on the 17th of February. In my head, instantly I was going, right, that's 3 weeks away, and I was generally like, thank God I've got a 3-week break already. I mean, that's just back for the January break. And already I'm like, oh, thank God, I don't need to go to another game for a few weeks because I can't turn up and watch that. And then, of course, the Kilmarnock game did roll around, and I'm sitting at the end of the full time thinking, God, I wish to God I hadn't. I mean, this has just been a turgid display, and then to throw it away like did. That is generally what this team, sadly, where we are right now. But all that being said, Liam, I say, well, this is what the team is from now to the end of the season, and whether we like it or not, this is what we've got to obviously just get behind them and hope to God and will them over the line. But they're not making it easy for us. They really are not.
Do you think there'll be protests tomorrow from our away support, the Green Brigade and all that? Or do you think we're working on a banner right now thanking them for the new women's training ground?
They'll be writing a banner, but I don't think they'll be thanking them. It just depends on how you want to define protest, if it's like, but I can see there being a banner. There was one at Pittodrie a few weeks ago saying something along the lines of, be it on your head, Celtic board, basically warning them that, this is on you. Now the financials have came out, and a lot of the similar narratives have been pushed out about, we tried and we couldn't get players over the line, all the stuff we've heard before. I would expect to see something from the Green Brigade and Bhoys tomorrow at some point. But yeah, in terms of protests, so if you want to go, will there be crowds gathering outside the stadium at any point to voice their concerns? I mean, I'd like to think it won't get to that stage. But ultimately, if we do come through and win this league, how this board has performed and how this team has performed shouldn't be forgotten. Even last season, when we were winding down towards the title and the performances began to become, I remember I said on this show, I went, when we get to the summer transfer window, performances like today shouldn't be forgotten because we clearly need to get some work done. And this is before Ange had left. We were all under the assumption that Ange will be here next season anyway. So it's a case of, even if we do get out of jail here and we somehow find something to get us over the line and we do win it, we can't just stay on the board. Well, they might do this, but we as fans definitely can't allow them to just sit back and go, well, I said, oh, good day at the office, guys. We've done it again. We've qualified for the Champions League. We've won the league again. It's like, no. We have to, what's going on right now, we have to be like, addressing all that in the summer. But the way they performed in the last couple of windows, would you really trust them to address it? It's a tall order right now.
I think we have to direct our anger at the top down now as well. We've had plenty to say about our captain, our left back, our centre backs, our manager, our chairman, or is it? What is he? He's not a real chairman, but chairman.
He's a non-executive chairman was his title, but now he's just chairman. He is just the chairman.
And our owner. You know what? You see the pictures of our owner playing golf with Gigi Khaled and all that stuff, and they rub elbows and out there on the golf courses, and I think he's the one we need to get rid of. And I think one of the like, if I was writing this as a sort of like a story or a comic book or something like that, I'd be looking at the best way to get rid of him would be to sort of embarrass him. And you look at right now what's going on with our support for Palestine, or the crowd's support for Palestine, and that. I think we need to have those banners back up again. And I think right in the middle, when you could put a big picture of Dermot Desmond in there with it as well, and explain that in the country clubs that you go to and all that, because they're not nearly as left or rebel leaning, or more like just empathetically conscious as we are, and they might not see it the same way, and that could cause him maybe a wee bit of embarrassment. Well, probably quite a bit of embarrassment of having to explain why our support are the way we are, and why he's so disengaged from that, and he can't. The stuff that he's proud to stand on, the backs of the Celtic, of the goodwill that we've, as support, has created around the world and through Europe and all that. Why doesn't he have that same philosophy, or boardroom manage that? Like, how do you get these Tories and all that in here that don't have any sort of relationship with the support base whatsoever? I think, I don't know, that was one of the opportunities I would think is like, that would probably rile him having to explain that, because, it's on the golf course and that. I'm sure he talks about Celtic as his plaything and about his wee interest and all that. But let him explain for the deeper, more empathetic relationships that we have as a club and as supporters. On embarrassing that way, because you're not really one of us. You're not really all in,
Totally. Well, my balls also said no protest. Save it for the end, beginning of next season, and do it via season tickets. If you feel strongly enough, I will be renewing. I am addicted, and that's the problem. I will probably renew anyway. I'll probably renew my ticket. I won't do it in day one. I won't be like, oh, here, have my money right away, Celtic. I'll just do it at my own leisure. Because at the end of the day, it is my pastime. And as much as we may hate it, but when you're a football fan of any club, you have to take the rough with the smooth. But right now, it's obviously we're so used to winning right now, and just to see the way it's going, it's like, what are they doing? It's just, you just get baffled every day. Seems to be a new mystery. Like, how on earth are they? What are they doing to justify this? But before we go, obviously, Liam, we may as well address what we think the score will be or how we think the game will go, despite a bit of the doom and gloom tonight. Again, I am going to still say that Celtic will get the victory, but I do also think that Rangers will beat Hearts on the Saturday and will still be 2 points behind. I know, though, we've got midweek games coming up where we're playing Dundee at Celtic Park on Wednesday, and Rangers are playing Kilmarnock down at Rugby Park, a ground they've already lost at this season. Although, yes, I know the car salesman was in charge of them at that point, Michael Beale, 2 times sacked this season. So maybe something might change on Wednesday, but I think it'll be status quo. Close of play Sunday night will be 2 points behind, which I think we'll find a way on Sunday, but it's going to be ugly, Liam.
I think predict 2-0 Celtic.
2-0.
Callum McGregor with the first. Greg Taylor.
Greg Taylor with the second. I knew you were going to say.
Worldy, like coming off the right wing, like Maradona against England.
Oh, wow. What he's going to handle into the net as well. Do that. That would be good. Before we go, there's a point though. You're talking about ownership and stuff. Before we go, I want to throw this one at you, some food for thought, because earlier in the night, Graham Williamson, and I don't know if this is some sort of ITK knowledge or just like he just has a what is it? Spider-Man says, "My spider senses are tingling." Basically, he said here, it's inevitable as the sun coming up in the morning that Celtic are being readied to be sold to a Saudi consortium. Desmond is going through the motions and trying to maximise his investment. Now, maybe not necessarily a Saudi consortium, because I know that would not go down well with certain circles, but some kind of consortium out there. I mean, I'm looking at what's going on at Man United right now with Jim Radcliffe basically forcing his way in. The Glazers made it clear that they're not going to sell the club. So he's been effectively forcing his way in by buying more and more shares. But the biggest issue is, even if there was a Celtic fan out there, somebody that could lead a consortium that had lots of money, to me, Scottish football is so... For investing in Scottish football, it's a bit of a black hole. That is the problem that this league has got, Liam. And it's like, for a big consortium to come in, whether it's Saudi-led, American-led, a company like Red Bull, whatever, the Scottish League is a hard sell because it is a bit of a black hole for money, essentially. I mean, that's the only way, a forced takeover of some kind. But I think it was Ross Desmond said recently at the AGM about he and his dad have no intentions of selling their shares or anything. But I mean, if Graham Williamson's got insider knowledge, if he thinks it's happening, or he just knows from experience or something, who knows? Would you fancy that, a new consortium taking over of some kind anyway?
Aye, I would. A lot of people are very risk adverse and said, be careful what you wish for, better the devil you know. But it doesn't always be a devil. You know, I think a new consortium coming in, they have to get the fans on side. So they're going to have to work harder to get to keep the status quo and protect their investment. And so that means they might have to communicate with the fans. I would rather, I think we would get more communication after a Saudi dictator than we would after Peter Lawwell. You know,
Vladimir Putin, he would give us more communication if he took over at this rate. What? My God. So, you know, Vladimir Putin, he'd give us more communication.
I would take Russian ownership. I would take Saudi. Honestly, some of the they come crawling into the holes it's suggested in the next couple of weeks. You know what? Hoping one of them's got a bag of cash and a knife left back. I'd take that. You know?
Some of the stuff getting said in the chat, Kevin has came in and said, if we're sold to the Saudis, I'm a Hibs fan. Pat O said it's a Qatari consortium. But yeah, see, it was just really this comment came up and I was like, well, maybe not Saudis necessarily, but just maybe in the business world, is this what is happening? Or is it just, they're just neglecting their duties essentially? I say the Desmonds did make it clear they have no intention of selling, but we'll just wait and see. We need to wait and see what the next move is for this board. Every day seems to be a new mystery, a new adventure. Who knows what tomorrow will bring?
It's the only investment I've seen. It's a good brand for somebody that wants profile in a plaything, because you can get plenty of profile through Celtic that you couldn't get from buying another Scottish club, and you get that profile hopefully to translate into Europe. Unless there's a Super League that Graham Williamson knows about that we don't. That maybe it's on offer, then that would be tempting to sell. But whoever comes in right now has to have a really solid plan of, okay, what do you know, what's your approach to Scottish football? Or is that you know, something that's it's media led? You know, the opportunity to create media around Celtic. I mean, you've got this massive Irish Celtic diaspora all around the world, you know, that we don't do a great job of marketing to, and we've lost so much of that share. You know, it used to be you walk around Canada and the States and Australia and all that, and you'd always see somebody wearing some sort of Celtic gear every now and again. Even myself, like when I, you know, used to go to Rome and stuff like that, but, you know, I'd have a Celtic hat on or something like that, and people would stop, hail, hail, and, you know, and even people that had just had friends that were Celtic supporters or, you know, things like that, but sort of grew up and grew to sort of love the hoops and saw us as good guys. That's diminishing now. That's diminishing under this board's watch. What has become a global brand is shrinking. So not only is the jersey shrinking to fit inferior players, but the brand is shrinking to meet inferior expectations, you know, and just like no strategy, no creativity, that sort of thing. So I think it's an opportunity. Whoever buys into it, there was times we talked about Jim Kerr and Bono.
I remember that thing, yeah. I remember that back in the sort of, I read about the Kenny Dalglish, John Barnes time at Celtic when they were there. It was running about that era, wasn't it?
Nah, and it wasn't just Jim Kerr, it was Charlie as well. Charlie's a big, like, Charlie was. But like there's been rumours of Conor McGregor, things like that.
Oh, God, yeah.
But you get somebody like Conor McGregor and Dana White together, and what they've done, if they could see this as like, okay, here's a brand that's got so much more global potential. You see people buy fashion brands and all that just for the logo.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah.
So you've got something there, and there's not a lot of competitive sports team other than maybe the Boston Celtics, and that are predominant that wear green and white. So it's not out there, not like you're battling with a lot of optics and visual cacophony to get your brand out there and stuff. It's distinct. It stands out. The hoops is universal. So happy as a Celtic supporter because, when my son was young, you take him to places here like Wonderland, which is sort of like Disneyland and stuff like that. Always wore the hoops. Not because he was a proud Celtic supporter, because I could see him in amongst all the other Waynes.
Yeah.
He always knew where he was. It was easy.
Oh, yeah, you can see them a mile away. You can. Well, before we head off, the last bombshell that I'll drop, David Kelly's dropped this hilarious one, just saying, would you take Donald Trump as our new owner? And then Who's the Stitch is followed up with Trump 2024, hail, hail, make Celtic great again. And on that bombshell, folks, we're headed off. And enjoy the game on Sunday as best you can. Try and get through it. Hopefully Celtic get the victory. And we'll be back on Sunday afternoon after the game. We'll have PMP. Russell and Terry should be along for that. So again, just hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet, and hit the bell notification. You'll be notified when we're on. And we're heading off now. So say enjoy your weekend, whatever you're up to. And of course, the game comes Sunday. Enjoy that. Liam, you enjoy the rest of your day because it's still early for you over there in Canada. And folks, thanks for watching, and we shall catch you later.